In the beginning of the show, we see Donnie at the police station reporting that he's getting stalked by a woman. She comes to his house and sends him emails all the time. The police officer doesn't think the woman seems threatening. A flashback shows Donnie working as a bartender in London when he saw his stalker for the first time. He asked her if she wanted a cup of tea, but she said she couldn't afford it, so he gave her one by himself. She introduced herself as Martha, who worked as a lawyer. She claimed that she owned a law firm. Donnie narrates that he moved to London to fulfill his lifelong dream of becoming a comedian, but he failed, so now he's living rent-free with his ex-girlfriend's mother. Martha visited him every single day. She would stick around for his entire shift. Donnie paid her compliments every now and then, but wouldn't give her his number. He then started receiving emails every day. Donnie went for coffee with Martha. She considered it a date and asked if he was serious about her. He confirmed it, but just as a friend. Later, Martha showed up at his stand-up show and was the only person who laughed at his jokes. That night, Martha confessed that she loved him. Martha sent him a friend request on Facebook. When he checked her timeline, he found several pictures of political personalities with her pictures photoshopped next to them. Donnie Googled her and discovered that she was indeed a lawyer, but she was deranged and struck off after the stalking verdict. She even attacked his mother in the street and got imprisoned for that. Donnie was shocked to learn that, but he added her as a friend on Facebook. Donnie tried to unfriend her many times, but always stopped himself. Martha started commenting on all his photos. She then told him that their date was romantic and asked if they were official. Donnie ignored her and went on a date with Terry, and they chatted about their lives. Sometime later, Martha headed to where Donnie worked and asked who he was texting and whether it was Keely. Donnie told her that Keely was just an old friend. Later, Donnie showed Terry Martha's text, and she thought she was clear and well. Terry wondered why Martha addressed him as Donnie and why he hadn't reported her to the police. Donnie promised her to shut this down. Martha called Donnie when he showed up at the pub. He served her Coke and charged her for it, but she started crying. Donnie comforted her and mentioned the age gap between them. That night, Martha flooded his account with emails. Martha shows up at the pub every morning and talks about their future together. Donnie asked Gino to ban Martha, but he refused as he thought that Donnie was nothing without her. Donnie then went to see Terry at the club, and they danced together. That night, Donnie came back with Terry. On the subway, Terry asked him to give her a proper kiss, but Donnie got off the subway. Later, Donnie found Martha waiting for him. She asked him to stop pushing her away. She offered to help him with the man who hurt him. Donnie decided to walk away, but she followed him, then pushed him against the wall and touched him inappropriately. Donnie returned home and blocked Martha on Facebook. Donnie took some time off from the pub. Donnie wonders why he let it happen. His flatmate Liz, who is his ex-girlfriend's mom, comforted Donnie. He later headed to Terry to apologize and tell her the truth about his name and his job. Terry listened to him for a bit, then kicked him out of her house. On the bus, Donnie changed his name and occupation to comedian on a dating website. Liz then introduced him to her cooking group. Martha happened to be there as well and introduced herself as a lawyer. Donnie explains that when he first came to London, he moved with his then-girlfriend Keely into her mother's home while they tried to find a place to build a life together. Eventually, Keely moved out on her own. Liz's son died, and Donnie continued living with her. Martha stayed that night and chatted with Liz. Donnie ordered Martha to leave and stay away from the house, but she refused until he threatened to call the police. The next day, Donnie decided to speak to Martha, but she never showed up. Instead, she waited for him at the bus stop in front of his house. Keely visited the house and asked him to sort out the Martha situation. Martha kept contacting her on Facebook and continued staying in front of his house every day. Martha never approached Donnie or came to the house again. When the weather got cold, she would stare at the house for hours, prompting Donnie to check up on her and drive her home that night. Donnie made her a cup of tea and stayed with her for a bit. He begged her to give him space and told her that he was breaking up with her. The next day, Martha didn't show up at his bus stop. Then he went to his semifinals. By seeing him fail in front of a large audience, he managed to make the public laugh, but Martha started singing and told everyone that she was his ex. Donnie told the public that she was his stalker. The security escorted her out. Terry and Donnie went straight to the pub. They had a drink together and chatted. Terry decided to give him a chance. Martha showed up there. Martha pushed Terry and started assaulting her. Donnie lost his temper and threatened to kill Martha if she didn't stay away from him. He then checked up on Terry, who had a bloody face. Donnie narrates that it took him 6 months to report Martha, who regrets not doing it when she attacked Terry. 5 years earlier, Donnie went to the festival to join the hustle and bustle of street performers. He was surprised when he discovered that his stage was in the main bar. He did his comedy gig, but no one was interested in watching him. The bartender gave him a VIP member pass that someone had dropped. Donnie used it that evening to get into the bar. He did some networking and met Darian. The next day, Darian attended his comedy gig, then gave him his card, and he offered to help him take his comedy show to the next level. Every night, Donnie would go out with Darian in the main private members bar in town, talking about the show. Darian suggested getting Donnie to perform in London. Sometime later, Darian went back to London early. Months later, Donnie went to acting school in Oxford. During his acting class, he got a call from Darian, who asked him to write with him. Donnie went to see him at his apartment and showed him the script he wrote. They took a lot of drugs, and Darian started touching him, and Donnie urged him to stop. After Donnie moved to London, he started taking drugs at Darian's house. Darian would later give him brutal script notes and make him do overnight rewrites. Donnie couldn't spend Keely's birthday with her. He decided to go to Darian's house, as he was helping him with his career. Keely warned him that Darian was taking advantage of him, but Donnie ignored her and left. That night, Donnie and Darian took acid. Donnie started panicking and tried to leave. Darian gave him a drink and started touching him. When Donnie woke up the next day, he took a shower and realized that he had been sexually abused. Donnie narrates that he stayed in the apartment for days afterwards. Later, Donnie realized that he wasn't interested in love and had no capacity for it anymore, until he met Terry. She was everything he wanted and needed, but whenever she touched him, he felt angry and ashamed that he was falling in love with her. When Martha turned up, all the confusion that Donnie felt faded as she turned his darkest insecurity into light. Martha saw him the way he wanted to be seen, and when it came to the point of going to the police, he couldn't stand the irony of reporting her, but not Darian. Donnie thinks Martha was ill and couldn't help it, whereas Darian was a manipulative groomer. The police officer asked Donnie to bring him proper evidence of Martha's talking, but Donnie commented that he was back to square one. Martha was barred after she attacked Terry. She kept harassing Donnie everywhere he went. She even attacked Keely. Liz asked Donnie to move out. Donnie moved in with 2 men from his drama school days. He loved the house. Donnie blamed Martha for his predicament. Donnie started spending more time at Terry's flat. The incident with Martha bound them, and they became a couple. However, despite trying, he was unable to be intimate with her. After repeated failed attempts, he started noticing a change in her. She would spend the day in bed. Eventually, she explained that she was mad because of the way he made her feel like his bad was manifesting all the awful things that Martha said to her that night. She wondered what he was doing to fix the situation. She knew he didn't notify the police about Martha assaulting her because he felt ashamed. Donnie assured her that she didn't look like a man, but Terry believed that he always treated her like one. Donnie showed the police officer the emails, but the latter thought they weren't credible threats to charge Martha. Donnie urged him to type her name into the system, which the officer did, and took Donnie to see his supervisor, detective, who said that Martha was a very serious woman who once stalked a policeman. She asked Donnie to draw up a timeline for them with everything that has happened thus far, and in the meantime, they would warn her regarding any future conduct. Donnie narrates that the police's presence at Martha's door brought with it a sudden silence. She stopped contacting him. Weeks later, Donnie started to panic as the emails allowed him to tune into every facet of her emotions. He was terrified she'd kill herself. He wondered if he missed her drama and attention. He even started to enjoy himself with her. He admitted that he wasn't even attracted to her, but the idea of it became an obsession for him. At the police station, Donnie reveals that he hasn't put together a timeline yet. The detective spoke to Martha, who was surprisingly cooperative. She even attended 2 of their social adjustment courses. Donnie wondered if Martha had passed anything on or was upset. The detective assured him that if Martha contacted him again, they'd move the process on to the CPS, which would likely result in Donnie obtaining a full restraining order. Terry thought that Donnie was hoping for a big showdown from Martha. Donnie thought that Martha wasn't all that mad, as she had self-restrained. Donnie got a call from his mom but didn't pick it up. He then got a voicemail message from his parents, who were frantic as they'd been ringing every hospital. Apparently, Martha called them and told them that their son was hospitalized. Donnie was shocked that Martha involved his parents. When he visited them, he found his dad talking to her on the phone, threatening to cut her legs off if she ever called him again. Martha got his mobile phone from his receptionist. She spent the other day calling around his colleagues. Donnie's mom urged her son to quit his job to be safe. Just then, Martha called him, and Donnie hung up. Donnie and his mom talked to the cops, but the officer explained that Martha was harassing his parents, which is a separate case from his. Donnie spent a week in Scotland, waiting for the police to take action. Watching on as Martha kept calling, he eventually decided to take matters into his own hands. He went to confront her, and he ordered her to leave his family alone. He promised to hang her curtains that night. He asked her to write what she wanted to do to him in an email. After she sent him that email, Donnie forwarded it to the detective. At the police station, the detective confronted him about his encounter with Martha. She knew that he asked her to send him a sexually threatening email because Martha had taped everything they'd ever done. The detective warned him that his behavior could be seen as entrapment. Martha didn't wish to take any action against him. The detective suggested he apologize to Martha and let them do their job. Donnie was shocked that the police were putting them on an even playing field. Donnie realized that Martha knew what she was doing all along because she was a repeat offender. Terry was worried Martha would start stalking her, so Donnie advised her to take her socials down for a bit. But Terry refused to hide herself, thinking that Martha was mentally ill, and Donnie indulged her because she is the embodiment of all his nasty repressions. Terry then decided to break up with him. The next day, Martha went to his pub, but Donnie forbade her from sitting. She refused to comply and served herself a glass of water. Then she started harassing Donnie in front of the customer. The client started mocking Donnie as well. Donnie asked him to Google Martha by typing serial stalker. Martha hit him with the glass. So Donnie punched her in the face, and then she got escorted out. Donnie regretted giving her that free cup of tea. The pub's manager, Gino, refused to let Donnie call the police because the landlord wouldn't like what happened at the pub. They would all be accused of negligence and lose their jobs. That evening, Donnie did his comedy gig, but the attendees didn't find his jokes funny. He started talking to the audience about his struggles. He recalled his encounter with Darian and how he did everything he asked of him to be famous. He confided in them that he got raped and lost his self-respect. The audience was shocked to hear his confession. He also told them about how he let Martha into his life because of his low confidence. Next, he told them about Terry and how he couldn't love her. He realized that he had messed up their relationship because he hated himself so much more than he loved her. Donnie concluded, saying that he was looking forward to winning the competition, then walked out. A random audience member recorded Donnie's breakdown and uploaded the video to YouTube, and it went viral. Weeks later, he became the center of a media storm. Martha stopped emailing, and Donnie got many work opportunities, like podcasts, radio shows, and bigger gigs with better crowds. Donnie was happy, but eventually Martha called him and threatened to tell his parents about Darian's abuse. Donnie paid a visit to his parents. He tearfully told them he needed their support to go on his journey. He confessed that he was raped, but didn't tell them because he was embarrassed and didn't want them to think less of him. His dad told him that he grew up in the Catholic Church, and the same thing happened to him as well. His parents cried as they hugged him. Donnie spent a few days in Scotland with his phone off, enjoying the peace and quiet. A few days later, he boarded the train and found several voicemail messages from Martha. He went to the police station, and the officer advised him off the record to keep his number and wait for Martha to say something that they could use to expedite the case. Over the next few months, Donnie listened to Martha's voicemails in order to mark down moments where she said something threatening. He started to download them and categorize them. He became obsessed as he ignored work calls, canceled gigs, and interviews. He found himself relating to her all over again, as they both had insecurities in common and fears for the future. Martha's voicemails distracted him from the things he had lost. He saw Terry move on with a new guy. Donnie eventually reported Martha when she threatened to stab his family. Martha was arrested the next day and charged with 3 counts of stalking and harassment. He went to her plea hearing, where she pleaded guilty. Martha was sentenced to 9 months in prison with a 5-year restraining order. Donnie deleted the police timeline of events and wrote that he felt sorry for her. Keely paid him a visit because she was concerned about him. On the wall, she saw Martha's stuff as she was trying to make sense of the situation. Donnie told Keely that he'd given up on comedy as he realized that it wasn't for him. Keely wanted him to move back to her mom's place in order to sort himself out a bit. Liz welcomed him home and said that she left him a little something in the cupboard. He retrieved the script he wrote for Darian with his notes. Donnie went to see Darian, and they chatted. Darian invited Donnie to come back and work with him, but he promised it wouldn't be like last time. Donnie accepted the offer, then left. Donnie listened to Martha's podcast and smiled as she complimented him and confessed that she liked him. He then went to a pub and ordered a drink. Donnie listens to the voicemail folder where Martha explains the baby reindeer thing. Donnie was the spit of that reindeer with the same nose and eyes, and the reindeer meant so much to her that she cried as she said that Donnie meant so much to her. Donnie starts crying, and the bartender comes to him. Donnie realized that he left his wallet home, and the guy offered him the drink for free.